Hello YouTube, D-Decken here, and guess what's back? And giving me mixed feelings, actually. Yes, that's right, it's the WCS 2018 Celebration Pick a Gift campaign. Now, the way this event works is, every day for the next, 10 days or so, you get to pick between 1 to 3 items. You keep one of those items, and the others are discarded. You don't get them. The event's main focus is personal preference. Which item do you value more over the other options? At which point you then pick that item and you get to keep it. You know, it's simple enough, really. Now, I don't post videos often, mostly because I do this for fun, but every time this event does come back around, I do make a point to make a video talking about it, and I like comparing it to the one beforehand, which the last event that took place was after the first week of June, and it was the World Championship Celebration. Now, this one is titled WCS, which I believe stands for World Championship Season. I'm not 100% sure. If anyone has a more accurate or a better guess, let me know in the comments. But after taking one good look at this list, it makes me worried for many reasons, but it also gives me vibes of the very first Pick a Gift campaign, in which the rewards weren't very consistent throughout. And I guess I'll talk about that in a little bit here, but well, try not to take up too much time. Let me just start by going into it. Simple enough. Now, day one, which is the main cause for my mixed feelings, and many others actually, which have already noticed this, but there's been a great gem disparity in the last couple events. Gems have not been given out as much as they used to, and honestly, it makes me very sad to actually see it happen here, with an event that I very much like to talk about. Now, ever since the second Pick a Gift campaign, which was the 1-year anniversary event, the day 1 gems were always set at 200. And here, they've gone back to the first Pick a Gift campaign, which was only 50 gems, actually. However, at the same time, even though I am sad to see less gems, it does help one other problem I've had with the day 1 event. Now, to anyone who's ever watched any of these videos, I've had a problem with the ratio of gems versus gold for the first day and throughout the event. For whatever reason, they were always set to 1 gem equals 100 gold, which is something I never really believed, because I always believe that gems are much more valuable because gold can only be really used at the card shop. However, with this event, the gem to gold ratio is now 1 gem to 400 gold, which is technically a better statement. I think I would probably prefer 1 to 50, 1 to 500, or maybe 1 to 1,000. At the same time, though, it is at the this better statement is at the cost of gems, which is not something that makes me happy, but again, I like that it's being addressed, but not like this. Again, I have mixed feelings on this. I really do. As for the other 2 items of gold and gate keys, gold is gold. If you need gold, you can take gold. It's an easy, accessible thing that I really wish they would do more with. And as for gate keys, technically those 2,000 gate keys can also be 200 color keys of any choice when you go to the card shop, so that's also something to keep in mind as well. Now, moving on to days 2, 4, 6, and 8, just grouping those together, those are card days. On these days, you can get a card that may be from a recent event or maybe something new. A special note though, some of these cards come from previous events, and some may be available in future events or even certain tickets. Not all tickets, but certain tickets. Days 2 and 6 offer a rare card, as well as 200 rare jewels or a rare ticket. Now, the rare ticket isn't really anything special. It's mostly card shop cards, as well as a few, it's mostly card shop cards, which is a little disappointing, actually, because we already get a ticket kind of like that from the daily logins now. So, hopefully, I don't know, but hopefully I would like if, yeah, I'm trying to talk, I really am. Hopefully in the future event, this would actually be upgraded to maybe glossy rare tickets, to try to make it a little bit more valuable for these rare ticket option days. Otherwise, 200 rare jewels are also a pretty good option, because they're good for converting normal cards from the card shop into glossy or prismatic variant, which take up a lot, actually. Like, for an ultra rare to converting that from glossy to prismatic, you need like 2,000 rares. And that's not even talking about converting it from normal to glossy and just buying it in general. But that said, talking about the cards now, the 2 cards we get for rares are Voltic King and Mirror of O's. Now, Voltage King is whenever you inflict battle damage, you send one card from the top of your opponent's deck to the graveyard for each face-up light monster you control. Now, even though that can be used in certain decks, this card actually came up around from the recent Tristan Taylor event that came out recently. Which kind of makes me wonder because someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe there's going to be another Tristan event in the future. So, my immediate question is, why is this card here? If this was in the last Tristan event, does that mean Voltage Kong here isn't going to be in the next Tristan event, or is it? And it's sort of a filler card. I don't know. This actually kind of confuses me. Again, it's something I already have, and it's because it's from a previous event. But to anyone who's new, they probably don't have this card. I can't honestly say though if it is worth getting or not now, but it is something to consider. The other card, which is actually new for this event, is Mirror of Oaths. Now, Mirror of Oaths is an interesting tech card in the regular TCG, or used to be, I guess, but it kind of is. Personally, I don't know. When your opponent special summons a monster from their main deck, destroy the monster or monsters, and you do draw a card. Now, off the top of my head, I can't really think of too many decks that would, have a reason to just main this to go against other decks. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is Noble Knights with equip Madrad, Madrad's effect summon Dryston, and then re-equip the Dryston. But generally speaking, Noble Knight players want to go first, and they really only do that once. You may be able to destroy Dryston, and they might try the Marauder play again, but again, if they usually get that play off first, then they don't. In other words, I don't see this viable against Noble Knights. But then there's Spellbook, and Spellbook full of Spellbook, to special summon from the deck. But Spellbook players don't do that play often, and even then, a cautious Spellbook player will use Fate 1 to bounce it back to the hand, or Fate 3 to banish it, which makes it redundant in the first place. I can't really think of too many decks that this card is good against, or good to use against. I mean, Girgia is another deck that comes to mind with Girgia Arsenal, but that isn't the focus of the deck either. It's to flip over Anchor and Attacker to destroy back row monster. So again, I'm not seeing many cards not seeing many things to put this card in deck 4. However, there could be a future deck in the future that coming up that could make this a difference. That could make a difference for this card, but I'm a bit iffy. Personally, I like it for the fact that it's the first time it coming around. And again, a bit of a disclaimer, but cards in these events sometimes do roll back around for the next event. Not necessarily always, but as I'll talk about in a sec here, but sometimes they do roll around in other events, so it is a chance you can get this card in other places, but not necessarily here. And those are the rare card days. I'm stuttering a lot, and I do apologize. But days 4 and 8 offer a super rare card, as well as 2 super rare jewels and 50 gems. Now, the reason they offer 2 super rare jewels is because a lot of the time the best way to get super rare jewels is to convert a super rare card into a jewel. Simple enough, right? However, if you were to obtain the card for this event and then just convert it for whatever reason, you only get 1 jewel out of it. So if that's your plan, then the third option is going to be a little bit more lenient, because it'll give you 2 super rare jewels as compared to the 1 you would have gotten. Tempting, right? Not really, but it varies. As for the 50 gems, to be honest, I kind of like it, for the sake of, throughout the entire event, the highest gem value you can get is 50 at all times, which kind of makes these specific days a bit more important compared to the other days, because there's a lot more risk at stake. However, again, it's still only 50 gems, and I'll talk about why I have a slight issue with that, but I'm trying to talk about it. That's fair. But moving on to the cards. First we have Lion Alligator. Now, once again, I mentioned that cards do get recycled sometime with Pick a Gift campaign. The Voltage Kong is not a recycled Pick a Gift card, but Lion Alligator is a recycled card. It actually was in a previous Pick a Gift campaign. And for what it does, it gives other reptiles you control piercing damage, which at the time, Alien was somewhat rolling out, but still kind of present. It's not anymore, but maybe a second copy of Lion Alligator might tempt you. Not sure. It also came with another reptile monster at the time, which Bitlon, I believe it was. But regardless, if you don't already have one, it's a good chance to get one now. If you want a second copy, you can also get one. If you don't want either, then of course there's always 50 gems. And as for day 8, the new card, oh, I actually do have a couple things I want to say about this one. It is the Tripper Mercury. The Tripper Mercury's effect is when you tribute summon this card, you can change all monsters on the field to face-up attack. If you can tribute 3 monsters instead of the regular 2 to normal summon it. But if you do, all monsters your opponent controls basically lose their attack, and regardless, this card can always attack twice during the battle phase. Now, by itself, 2000 attack doesn't actually seem that much, but when you take in consideration its third effect, it actually becomes a lot more viable per card. And I can honestly think of a couple ways to actually pull it off. Now, just because of farming, the first thing I thought of was a Cosmic Cyclone plus double summon. You normal summon Cosmic Cyclone. If your opponent controls 2 monsters, you summon 2 Cosmic tokens, and then you activate double summon, or I guess Arrival. That's another option. You normal summon out Tripper Mercury, and you basically do 4K damage right there. Now, if you're playing Beatdown, technically you do 4600, but that's only if you play double summon instead of Arrivals. However, I don't want to say this. I hate the fact that I thought about this. But there is another deck that can really make use of this card. And that deck is For Hire. By the sound of my voice, I don't like For Hire, but in all honesty, For Hire can technically make use of this card because For Hire can easily put 3 monsters on the field at any given point. And not really care about resources as well. They can even do it without needing their normal summon by activating Mayhem first, summoning one of their little guys, mainly a Searcher or Strategist, summon a second guy, either Search or Readd, and then special the third guy, and then all without using their normal summon. They tribute for Tripper, and then they just go for game. Again, I hate saying that. Personally, I have ideas of how to hit For Hire, and even then, this card can easily get thrown in there, even with those hits in mind. Like, I'm thinking of, like, getting rid of, like, 6 cards out of the deck, and this card would still be a good substitute because you can easily put 3 monsters on the board. And that kind of worries me. Like, this card is very good. This is something I think many people will try making decks around. I'm not sure how... It is Aqua type, which is a bit different compared to, let's say, reinforcements for Destiny Hero Plasma. But it'd be interesting to see what kind of decks people make outside of For Hire for this card. Like, I mean, technically there are certain stall cards like Econ, and there are ways to stop this card, in other words. But that said, it's... Again, this card I think can go a little further. I'm curious where it will go, though. And I'm also curious what actual decks else are going to be used. Okay. I talked a little bit too much, did I? Yeah. Trying to wrap this up. Days 3, 5, and 7 honestly don't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I mentioned before about inconsistency, and here's the cake and here's where you can eat it too. Days 3 and 5 essentially make the same third item parallel swap. However, the gems and gold is what's off here. Like, before I mentioned with day 1 it was 1 to 400. But here they decided to make it 20 and 30 for days 3 and 5, but still keep the 10,000 for days 3 and for the same days. Which, again, kind of ruined the ratio thing, and it kind of feels lazy. Like, the idea is for you to pick gems on both days so you can get 50. Like, that's the idea behind it. But if they were going to make it a bit more balanced, then they should have just made it 25-25. That way it's, like, I mean, granted, a lot of people are probably already going to pick gems, but there probably are some people who would be tempted by the gold, or maybe even the super rare jewels. So, I feel it's a little unfair, and I feel it's a little bit lazy to make it like that. But that, or better yet, why don't you just make gold 800 for that day 3, and then 1200 for the day 5, making gold a bit more tempting on those days. Just, like, there are ways to go about this that I don't think were done well. Essentially. Now, as for day 7, anyone who's watched any of these pick a gift videos I've made probably already know my opinion on this, but I'll say it right here, right now. I don't think the jewel ratio here is a well set up. Don't get me wrong. I like rare jewels. I like that it gives you 500 rare jewels. That is nice. I don't like, however, super rares and ultra rare jewels. I don't think those are very well represented. They're a little bit more easy to get once you get higher levels compared to lower levels, and Again, rare jewels are just more valuable, just like gold and gems. If this would be a bit more fair, I would probably argue for for 500 rare jewels, maybe 10 super rares, and maybe 2 ultra rares at least. Like, but like this, I don't think it's well set up. It's more lenient towards rares, and I don't like that. As for day 9 is elemental jewel day. Basically, you choose any of these elemental jewels, and it'll help you with buying cards from the card shop. That's what it's for. Now, if there isn't any cards that you're aiming for at the card shop, then I recommend you go with whatever item you don't have the least of, or whatever item you don't, whatever attribute of monsters you don't often convert, or if you convert at all. Like if you don't have a lot of water jewels, and you want, then go for water. If you don't have a lot of fire, etc. And last but not least, day 10. Day 10 is the toughest day of them all. I'm saying this on camera right now. I don't even know which one I will pick. In all honesty, though, I really wish they do change this eventually. Like, it's always super rares on the last day. Oh, which I get. It's supposed to be, oh, we'll just give you super rare. Thank you for playing along. But I don't know. I wish they actually do change that up sometimes. Like, maybe make it 2 super rares versus 1 glossy super rare. And then the third option being, I'm not quite sure, but just something different. But that said, what do you think of this event? Personally, once again, I think some things were balanced at the cost of gems, and again, mixed feelings on the subject matter, but in any case, what do you think? Do you like some of the changes? Do you not? Let me know in the comments, and have a good day.